Mr. Speaker, on behalf of our freshman Democratic members and in concert with the Democratic leadership, I am pleased to bring to the floor today the Drill Responsibly in Leased Lands Act, the Drill Bill. Let there be no mistake about it. As Democrats, we are pro-drilling. I repeat that for my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. We are pro-drilling. We are for drilling now, and we are for drilling in areas that bring near-term relief to the American public. As others put forth bumper sticker energy policies, today House Democrats are bringing forth prudent legislation aimed at unleashing the vast potential of the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska, this section to the far right on the map behind me. That is to be distinguished very clearly and separately from ANWR over on my far left. Where better to drill than in the National Petroleum Reserve? That's what it's for, the National Petroleum Reserve. That's why it was set aside, the National Petroleum Reserve. My colleagues, the National Petroleum Reserve, situated on the north slope of Alaska, this reserve is no pipe dream like ANWR way over here, which is a bumper sticker approach of our energy woes. The National Petroleum Reserve is open for leasing. It has been, it will be. 23 million acres. The National Petroleum Reserve, open for leasing, open for business, now, today. 23 million acres containing an estimated 6.6 billion barrels of recoverable oil. More than over here in ANWR, not even open for leasing at this point in time. A pipe dream over here in ANWR. For far more than ANWR, the National Petroleum Reserve, as I've said, has much more recoverable oil than ANWR. And if fully opened, if ANWR were fully opened, we still would be 20 years before we could have any oil in production, and the energy information estimates show that only effect on the price at the pump would be 1.8 cents 20 years from now. As opposed to that, we have the National Petroleum Reserve set aside for drilling. In Alaska, 35 trillion cubic feet of natural gas has been stranded. Think about that. 35 trillion cubic feet of natural gas stranded over in the National Petroleum Reserve because there's no pipeline available to bring it to market, over here being the major pipelines, pipeline for oil only, I might add. Elsewhere, there is 68 million acres of land onshore and offshore in the outer continental shelf in the lower 48 under oil and gas leases that are not producing. They may be subject to speculation. They may be purely being warehoused. We don't know. I say here today, drill, drill, drill. Drill here in America. Drill now. Let's drill. The Drill Act, Drill Responsibly in Leased Act, would unleash the vast potential of the National Petroleum Reserve by requiring annual federal oil and gas lease sales and by facilitating the construction of pipelines to connect the NPRA with the existing central and north slope arteries that will bring it on down to the American consumers in the lower 48. That includes Prudhoe Bay, connecting it over here to Prudhoe Bay, the transportation infrastructure and Trans-Alaska pipeline that comes down here. We do need still a gas pipeline. There is, of course, already existing an oil pipeline. But it makes, as a matter of presidential priority, the Drill Act makes the construction of the Alaska Natural Gas Pipeline a priority, so that stranded gas in the National Petroleum Reserve can be transported to the lower 48. It requires project labor agreements be entered into for the construction of these pipelines so that they would be good-paying American jobs. It requires that the Trans-Alaskan pipeline, the NPR-A pipeline that connects, that's right here, a 5-mile segment connecting NPR over to the existing oil and gas leasing being done in the Prudhoe Bay area. That they be maintained and operated in an efficient manner to ensure an uninterrupted flow of oil and natural gas, and the Drill Act reinstitutes the ban on the export of Alaskan oil to other countries so that this Alaskan oil, American oil, can be used by Americans for their relief. It's a common sense approach to our near-term energy woes. We know very clearly we must transition ourselves from oil dependency. We must wean ourselves from oil addiction. Alternative fuels, coal to liquids, carbon sequestration, other non-corn-based alternatives, renewables, all of the above should be on the table as the only way to secure America's energy independence from foreign crude. But in the near term, we need to drill. We're saying in this bill today, drill, 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 drill it now, drill it here, drill it where the oil is and where it is already available. Not wait 20 years from now, as the President proposes, to lift some moratorium on OCS and up here in ANWR that I've already said won't affect any near-term relief at the pumps for the American consumers. So let me observe that there are those who display a fundamental misunderstanding of parts of this legislation. We do, of course, incorporate the use or lose it that's already passed by a majority in this body that requires the diligent development of federal oil and gas leases during their primary term, which is normally 10 years. And what that means is that during that period, we are requesting that the oil companies do something with these leases to explore it for energy. If a discovery is made, and we hope that it will be, apply for the permit. Now, I understand drilling. I think most of my colleagues know I'm from the state of West Virginia, by golly, the great state of West Virginia. We know something about energy woes in that state. We are not a NIMBY state by any stretch of the imagination. We do not shirk from our responsibility to contribute to the nation's need for energy. We have mining. We have drilling. I understand that complications can take place while trying to develop a lease. Environmental challenges, bureaucratic delays, but this constitutes due diligence. This constitutes the development of a lease. This constitutes moving toward meeting our energy woes. Diligent development does not mean the lease is produced and that. It means that a company is doing something with the lease to determine whether it can be brought into production or not. That is a good thing. That is diligent development. I understand it's a lengthy process, but I'm saying to Mr. Big Oil, please do something on these leases. Do something. If you have to go out and buy a Black & Decker drill to try to drill to move forward, do that. Vote for this legislation. A vote for this legislation will mean that we are trying to bring energy immediately to the American people, that we are voting for good American-paying jobs, and that we are voting to prevent American energy being exported to foreign markets. As I conclude, again, I say drill, 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 drill here, drill now, drill so that we can meet our energy demands, the supply side here with American resources, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves.